students, welcome to our new lecture. Myself Mrunal Malve from Prabhat Kids School. Today we are going to learn a beautiful story which is your new lesson, Man on the Island. It is taken from a famous novel, Treasure Island. The novel is written by Robert Louis Stevenson. He was a Scottish novelist, essayist and a poet. His famous works include Kidnapped, The Black Arrow and A Child's Garden of Verses. Dear students, please take pen and practice notebook and write down the difficult words with meaning which are elucidated during our lesson. In this extract, Jim, who is telling the story, happens to be on the skeleton island in search of a treasure, where he meets one old man who is left there by his angry mates. The dialogues elucidate a captivating story of pirates. And you know who pirates are? Pirates are wicked sailors who attack and rob other ships. Before starting this interesting story, we should know the main story of the original novel, Treasure Island. In this novel, the main character, young Jim Hawkins, helped his parents to run an inn near Bristol. One day, a desperate-looking ruffian, Billy Bones, appeared and took a room at his inn. In a spell of rum, he told Jim that he was a pirate and that he had a treasure map. Then he suffered a stroke and died. Shortly thereafter, Dr. Livesey and Jim rediscovered the treasure map, decided to mount an expedition to find the hidden riches. For the voyage, that is, long travel in sea, they took help of sailors who happened to be pirates. During their voyage, Jim overhears the pirates planning to steal the treasure once it was found and to kill all the non-pirates. What follows is a rip-roaring tale of mutiny and treachery. Jim, Dr. Livesey and Squire Trelawney are forced to leave by their own. They are helped by Captain Smollett and by Ben Gunn, a pirate, marooned on Skeleton Island. Maroon means left behind or stranded in a place from where one cannot escape. With their help, Jim ultimately prevails over the pirates and returns home with the treasure. The present extract, Man on the Island, is interaction of Jim with Ben Gunn, who is left there to live by his enemies during his last voyage. The complete story is told by Jim in first person. The story begins on Skeleton Island. Some stones came rolling down the side of the hill. Somebody was up there among the trees. I saw a figure run from one tree to the next. It was a strange figure. Dark and hairy it was. Was it a man or a monkey? Was it a wild man? I fled. Jim was on the island. He was strayed from his companion Dr. Livesey and Squire Trelawney. He was taken aback when he saw stones came rolling down from a hill. He could not confirm whether it was a man or monkey. As the island was not inhabited, how could there be any man? So he thought it could be a monkey or wild man. But soon the creature followed him. Jim ran. But soon he became aware that the creature was like man, not a beast, as it walked on 2 feet. Jim said to himself, if it is a man, why am I afraid? I asked myself, I have a pistol. But it moved like a man on 2 legs. He stopped running. He took pistol from his belt and walked towards the creature, which came out from behind a tree trunk. It was a man. He was afraid of the pistol. He threw himself on his knees. He clasped his hands and held out to Jim. To clasp is to hold tightly. Here it means he folded his hands begging for mercy, that is, to show kindness to him, to forgive him. Who are you? Jim asked him. He said, Ben Gunn. I am poor Ben Gunn. I have lived here all alone these 3 years. 3 years, all myself. He was a white man, but due to the sun was burnt black. His hair and beard were long and snow white. His clothes were rags, means they were almost torn, which were stick by string. Jim was surprised. He asked him whether he was shipwrecked, that is, whether he had experienced shipwreck, means whether his ship has drawn or destroyed in tides of the sea. But he said that he was marooned. But he managed to live on wild goats, berries and shellfish for these 3 years. He hadn't tasted proper food. He asked Jim whether he had cheese because he had dreamt of cheese repeatedly for several nights. But Jim had no cheese with him. He said that it was overboard, that is, on his ship. Meanwhile, he introduced himself. Well, Jim, I have been living a rough life, but I was carefully brought up. My mother was a good woman, Jim. She taught me to say my prayers. Then I went wrong, and that brought me here. But I have been thinking, if ever I get off this island, I am going to lead a good life, a good, holy life, Jim. He was full of remorse. He wished to repent his wrong deeds which put him in difficulty. But he wished to be a good man, a holy man, as his mother had taught him. He came near Jim and said to him in whispering voice that he is rich. Jim thought him mad. He was lonely for 3 years and his loneliness had made him mad. But soon he came near and said that he was first to see him, so he would give him his share. But again he got frightened with the thought, if he was on Flint's ship. Flint was the earlier pirate who had deceived him and marooned him on the island. Jim informed him that Flint was dead. However, he truthfully informed Ben about other pirates on the ship, including a man with one leg named Long John Silver. Ben Gunn, though suspected Jim to be his man, but in heart he understood him to be a nice guy. Here, Jim told his complete story of his voyage and present danger. He carefully listened and then appreciated Jim. But he said he was in nasty corner, in dangerous situation, and assured him to find a way out. He also inquired about Mr. Trelawney. Jim informed him he is a good and generous, that is, helpful for needy. He again inquired whether he would allow taking £1,000 from the treasure which he had already owned. When he got positive answer from Jim, he inquired whether he would allow him his passage, that is, allow his return. Jim again assured, saying they would require him to sail the boat. After getting complete assurance, Ben Gunn told his complete story. I was on Flint's ship when he came here with the treasure. Billy Bones was the mate. Long John was in charge of the stores. Flint went on shore with 6 of the men. Big, strong fellows they were. He told him that he was on Flint's ship when he came with treasure to the island. Billy Bones was his mate. Mate word used for friend. You often say someone is your classmate, that is companion. It also means the person who is second in command of a ship after the captain. That is, Billy Bones was next to the captain. There was also Silver, who was a storekeeper. When Flint arrived on the island, he took 6 men on the ship and the treasure with him. He stayed for a week, buried the treasure, killed 6 men, and then he came on board. When Ben Gunn was on another ship, he came across the same island, Flint's Island, as he had stored treasure there. His mates came and searched for it for 12 days, but they didn't find the treasure. His shipmates were angry with him. They left Ben on the island with a gun and an axe, and since last 3 years Ben was alone on the island. After telling his lot, he stopped and asked Jim anxiously, means worriedly, whether he would speak to Mr. Trelawney for him. Jim promised him, but Jim was not sure whether he would get back on board. Ben Gunn informed that he had his boat which he had built. It was laying under the white rock. It was 2 hours left for sunset when they heard the sound of the ship's cannon. Cannon is a large gun usually on wheels and used in battles. After some time the cannon was stopped, but gunfire was still continued. When they ran toward the ship, Jim saw the English flag was flying on the ship. Ben Gunn informed him that ship would be of his friends. He said that he would not come with him, but he said if Mr. Trelawney or other gentlemen want to see him, he would be available for them. As the ship was there for rescuing, Jim ran towards the approaching ship. That is, Jim could board his ship again and go for his country. What is special, by this time, he knew Ben and Ben knew the whereabouts of the treasures. Such an enthralling story, yes? Hope you like it and have taken notes of difficult words with their meanings. But before closing the story, I would like to ask you whether Ben Gunn had found the hidden treasure. Support your answer with the evidence from the story. Again, list the main characters that are actually in the lesson and other characters they talked of. Yes, there are only 2 characters in the lesson. They are Jim and Ben Gunn. Now, you have to find out other characters. Those are mentioned in the lesson. Thank you. Have a nice day.